The Danish Broadcast Corporation in Denmark is called DR, which is Denmark's radio, because it originally was the public radio broadcast and then the public television broadcast, and now it's just it's a general media broadcast corporation, but it kept the name DR. And as I said, it's a case study. A couple of years ago, DK. We can take a brief presentation of me. My name is Kristoffer Arrild Asmussen. I'm a senior developer at Python Co. in Copenhagen. And that's my Twitter account. Not that it's very interesting, but DRDK. DR is the Public Television and Radio Broadcast Corporation in Denmark. It's owned by the government, but run independently by professional management. The domain is the most visited domain in Denmark, and for those of you who were here at Jeppe's presentation before, he had a lot of numbers. It's millions of visits every month and hundreds of thousands every day. They have multiple visually distinguished subsites on the same domain, and they write around 500 articles every day, and more than 400 journalists and editors are working on the site every day. And then the main DR.dk is the entrance to a lot of web applications, one of which is a Drupal site. And you say one of which is a Drupal site is because they have a path-based application redirect in their setup. They have a big hosting environment in-house, and so they control. They create special events in separate applications to have full control of the load and to separate it. The massive. If they build special applications, they don't want to mess up the main CMS. And they have around. I think originally we said there was 140 subsites, but they were accumulated to 40 subsites, and 6 of them has taken the leap to Drupal from an old Microsoft CMS solution. But I think 4 days ago the election in Denmark was announced, so now the news, the big site that has to move is actually ready, but I don't think they dare to move it in the middle of an election period. But we'll see about that. The MCMS solution that they have today is a Microsoft CMS that was implemented around 2002, and that's a long time ago in the internet age. I think in 2006 or 7, Microsoft ended support for this product, but DR and some other companies financed continued support for 3 years. But in 9, Microsoft said, nope, even though you pay, we won't support it anymore. Welcome. So now we. 3 years ago, the work of moving to Drupal was initiated, and in February last year, the first site was moved and launched in Drupal, and now the sites are being moved one by one. And as I said, we have the big one. The news is about to move. Probably as soon as the election is over. And this means that Drupal will be the home of all articles and the primary tool for content authoring. I've been through this pretty much. But one important thing here is, that one of the things they wanted for the new CMS was a streamlined production flow, and they want more time spent writing articles and less time creating pages. And I think that's one of the reasons that they selected Drupal, because it's, even though it may out of the box be kind of scary editor experience, there's a lot of options of optimizing it. And you don't have like in Typo 3 or Sidecar or something, you don't, a page is not a scheme of fields that you have to or boxes where you have to decide what has to be in it. We define fields, and you can put restriction on the fields and decide what can be in those, and then it is output to something that'll be rendered at some point. And they wanted the possibility for continuous improvements, and of course it was kind of a turnaround, because they've been working in a Microsoft solution, and they had a team of 50 .NET developers in-house, so the change to PHP was slightly in-house controversial, and I don't think they're quite happy yet, but that's not really, as a consultant, we, yeah, oh, okay. The application setup, I mentioned before, they have an in-house varnish application, and that forwards to a load balancer, and the load balancer looks at the path and then forwards to several .NET applications. Rendering a page in the MCMS was at some stages around 75 seconds for the worst of them. So they have built all these .NET applications that is for the most trafficked and updated sites. So it's not really displayed through the MCMS solution. It's displayed through separate .NET applications. That is mainly a front-end framework. They have a path that points to some PHP host, and then finally one that points to Drupal. And then Drupal handles the request once a path is allowed to go that way. And that's the basic of it. The site itself is, as many sites are built around a lot of lists, and lists in a broad sense, because having teasers and layouts and all is it's all built in lists, and we have several different ways of entering them. Prioritized lists are made with node queue, are made as node queues, and then we have a custom plugin based on Solr that's called a metadata agent. That was what it was called before, so they wanted to keep the name metadata agent, which means that you have a panel pane you can insert, and then it's pretty much like setting up a view. You have a lot of filtering options and sorting options, and then it just outputs the list in as pane. And to support the need for more advanced layout, we built a list themer that you can apply on these panel panes as well. And this looks very Drupal-ish to many of you, I would think. But you can define layouts of an article layout, and then for the list you say, I have a span of 2 articles that I want to display as boxed with a big image and headline and some related links, and then have pretty much like view modes that you can define 2 articles in this view mode, 3 in this, 5 in this, and so on. And then you can just build very advanced lists and layouts that'll be rendered through these solar panel or solar-based panels. Yeah, this is a metadata agent. Probably recognize there's a panel layout behind it. Yeah, but you have a lot of filters and sorting options. As I said, it's pretty much like setting up a view, but it's not an entity. It's just it's a pane that can be injected. And I'll get back to it, but the whole page is based around Panelizer. The whole site is based around Panelizer. The site itself is built in with a sub-site structure supported by the redirect scheme or diagram I showed before. But once it's the path is directed to Drupal, Drupal recognizes the path as belonging to a certain site, and a site here and for the rest of the presentation is actually a taxonomy term. And in a taxonomy term, you have a front page node that is a panelized node, so you can define a layout for this particular site. You can decide whether this layout is going to be inherited through the site, or you want to build custom layouts for all the sub pages. You build mini panels so you can have generic panel that's going to be used on all that you can reuse on different sites, and then you have in the mini panel you can decide I want this metadata agent with these parameters and just change the site, and then we can build some quite complete elements that can just be injected into the site. So you can in very short time build a completely new site. A site has related custom site assets. It's the whole Drupal site has a basic, as you can probably recognize, as a lot of the structure is pretty much the same, and lots of time has been spent on making the front end fast and strict. But then you can and that's the basic setup, and then all the design and the colors and even if they need custom JavaScript, it can be added in what we call custom site assets. That is added to the theme, and then on the site term form, you can tell I want to connect these assets to this site term, and it gives the option of making very visually distinguished subsites. One of the key features or things that made this made it possible to make a very big site that has to support a lot of various needs without bloating the nodes completely, was that we made this entity type called parse. And parse is Latin, and it means part of something. And it's a URL-free entity that can be text boxes, it can be images and slideshows, and you can have ESI components and a lot more. You can insert it in the body text. You can use it in panels, and you can use it to, if we need to add information to an article, the parts can be added to serve as extra fields on the article. The whole site, the will be having around I think 2 million nodes once we get the news converted. It has only 3 node types, and 99.9% of them are articles. And to support news articles and recipes and whatnot, we can't just make 1 million fields on every node. As you all know, that would make the editor experience terrible, and it will probably make it very hard to maintain. But then we can build parse entities that allow us to expand with more fields. Or it's what we end up gaining is for example, we need to send breaking news messages. We have a parse called breaking news, and you can add that to an article, and in the breaking news parse, you write your push message that'll be sent as text messages and will be posted on Twitter and Facebook, and it's saved along with the node. And once the node is saved with this parse, it sends the push message and is registered as a breaking news article. I'll get back to that. More about the parse, or some examples of parse usage. We have there's a fact box, a parse that's inserted in the body text, another fact box in the body text, an ESI component parses that is inserted in panels. And they don't look very different, but it's a very, very diverging functionality. Yeah.
Just one question, small. How many bundles of parse do you have?
I think I'm not on this project anymore. I left. We had, I think, 15. 15. Yeah, not 50. And I think I'll show you a brief video of the editor interface and how the article is working. This is I should emphasize that. We have the article type, and it's that's another example of that we add a. This is pretty much like a huge basket of editor demands that we compounded into this article type selector, because we can, if we have the article type is called a review, then you can add a parse with a rating, and if the type is a review and it has a rating parse, then it knows that it has to be rendered like this, and when rendered in a list, the rating is indexed, and we can switch the layouts, and even some of them, if it's called the interactive graphics type, then instead of a main image, it'll use a parse with some sort of typically a JavaScript application that's shown in full width at the top of the page. And all that is compressed into this drop down. So the journalists and editors won't have to ever consider the technology choices, because this actually represents a lot of different functionalities and parameters. Yeah, and this I just fill out the pages. The author is not the logged-in user, but it's a taxonomy. So and it's linked to the logged-in users. And you can see this is from a very early stage. the site selector is already very long. So imagine when there's 100 different sites. So this is a custom widget we built that just limits the amount of selections. And this is a funny feature, the one I just had here, because to developers it doesn't really make sense. But they were very keen on, the journalists, to have a way to make a bookmark that'll pre-select this drop down. So sports journalists writing about sports, they wouldn't have to open the page and select sports on this one. So they wanted to be able to go fast into this and start writing about sports without using a drop down at first. Yeah, and we have tags that's automatically added when you select the site. Yeah, it is kind of redundant, but yeah, as you can see, it's the editor. It's been trimmed to display not to have too many functions, but we built a few special items inside it. As most of you probably know, the normal if you want to select the format of a piece of text, it's a drop down, and drop downs in here are not. It's kind of messy. So this, it's not very. I think to me it's not too easy to read, but people liked it. It's a headline button or a subheader button that works as any other button, but one of the things that improved the editor experience a lot, even though it seems very simple. We built a custom interface for highlighted lists. It's something that they use a bit. I think this. I'm gonna move on. Yeah, this is a subheader function. One of the nice things about CK Editor is that they have added, on request by the Drupal community, added a widget functionality that allows you to insert closed items in the editor. Because if you just use media, the media module, and insert media into the text, it's too easy for editors to accidentally destroy the markup that media is using to recognize what is media, and then it breaks the link to the media entity, and once they change something or want to keep track of the items, then it's the reference is gone, and they can't really work with it. So we utilized the widgets very heavily on this one, as you will see. First of all, this is to put related links inside the text. With a million articles, an autocomplete is not going to do. So they had a search pane that inserts a link widget where you can change the link text and the label on the link, and works very nice. They can't really destroy it, and it knows the formatting it has to have. So let's see. Okay. One of the picture we had before with where we had this fact box inside the text. As I said, there was a parse that was embedded inside, and this is this is how it works. We have on the right side, most of the text editor. We have a pane where you can decide I want to put a new element or new parse inside the body text. And you say you can search to find an existing one, or you can create a new one. And now we have I'm writing a fact box, and you can see it goes into the body text, and it's locked. So you can't as an editor mess with it inside the editor. You have to say I want to fix this, and you can see all the parses that has been added is available in the right side pane. Yeah, and you can see it's updated. Okay, let's see if there are more on this one. Yeah, this is one of the things I like a lot about. Maybe it's. Just go back. About CK Editor and the development it has taken is how easy it is for these widgets to use an upcast and downcast state that you can. This is a representation of the fact box, and once we go to the WYSIWYG state, these data are interpreted to display. Yeah, well, it's not really a preview as it was, but you can see where in the text this is, and you can render all sorts of previews by just telling CK Editor that if you have something called with a class of dr parse block, probably not too easy to read from down there, then interpret this as a widget and render it like this. And then you can use whatever data is inside that markup to build your widget. And you can do pretty cool stuff with that. Okay. And the language is pretty much the same. For the media, we use the PL upload, and to support the requirements of the client, we kind of got into a bleeding edge media version to use the media multi-select module. That's it was simply a requirement to be able to add more pictures at once. Let's see if it maybe I don't have too much time. Yeah, and this is displaying an old version of the crop module, so I just whoops. Okay. That was the article form. We spent a lot of time working with that. I'll get back to it a little bit later. But you saw the search functionality on the right side, the one we had here. In the next release, it'll be replaced by an internally developed application called the Garnnøgle, or the yarn, like a ball of yarn. That is a very complex system for relating stuff. Instead of, because normally you either add related content to your article, and then in a couple of weeks the related content is old, and or you make a tag-based related content block, and then you risk that somebody tags stuff or uses the tag in a different manner. So what they have built, and this is outside the Drupal, but it's interesting. They have built a system of they call it anonymous tags, where you tell the system that this article is related. Wait, I can use this. That this article is related to this article. And when I write a new article and say that it's related to this article, or if I write a new article and say it's related to this, then the system registers this as a yarn, as a ball of content. So even though this was the oldest article, when I view this, the related links will be chosen from inside this yarn. So you actually choose explicitly the content that you want it related to, but you still get the updated related content in the article. And it's been performance-wise, when you have millions of articles, it's been very difficult to work with. And one of the journalist features is that the body text is every 10 seconds posted to this service, and keywords are extracted, and then you get a suggestion of related content next to your body field. And I think I don't have to explain why that can be heavy if you have a lot of editors working at the same time. And that whole system is built on a Solar engine. Another thing we built was a shell for NodeQ. The system was in the early stages based on NodeQs, as I said, the front page prioritization, and a lot of lists was made with NodeQ. But the NodeQ interface is okay, but still, if you have a lot of content and you need fast-paced news publishing, then you can it's too difficult, and you have a lot of NodeQs on the same page. So this is the interface we built. I have a video of that, but I won't show it because time is going close. This is for the news department. You have a list of all the latest articles from this editorial unit, and if you want to add it to your list, you just click, and it goes here. And this is a separate NodeQ for suggestions, and this is the primary normal prioritization NodeQ. Then they have a breaking news NodeQ, and they have a focus NodeQ, but it's not displayed here. But this interface makes it possible to say this article is no longer breaking news, but of course it's still important because it was breaking news 3 hours ago. So you, instead of removing it and moving back, you can just drag it into wherever you want it in the normal prioritization list, and just save, and all your NodeQs will be saved at once, and you can so you can make a general prioritization and control what is in which queue, and then make sure that the same content is not present too many places. Here on the source part of the form, we have suggestions that can be, because the news department is the most important and the one with the most visits. So they and sometimes the other editorial units can suggest articles. We made this article about something that could be very interesting, that could be relevant to show on the news front page. And when they click this tab, they'll have a list of what's been suggested by the other departments. And they can move it into into the prioritization layer, or they can bookmark it and have a list of articles that they say these we will need these at some point, or it's nice to have like with the election. Everybody knew that there was an election coming, so they probably wrote about 5 or 10 articles about election and the different parties, and they can be here. So as soon as the election is coming, the articles are ready, and it's possible to throw them into the to the front page prioritization in no time. Yeah, I think that'll be it for prioritization. We built a context-aware image crop module, because normally when you work with entities, it's whatever information you add to an entity is living with that entity. And that's good many times, but in this context it was a problem, because they have millions of photos, and sometimes if you have, for example, now this is the biggest club in Denmark, so it won't be a problem here, but if it was some distant club that they were to meet in the European League or whatever, and they had want to write an article about this guy, they would want him to be in the picture. But instead of making a copy of the whole team image, if you also want an article about this guy, then you can use the same picture and recrop it for the different contexts. So the image will be the module will create like a shadow entity that has a relation to the, maybe I even have a slide about that. Nope. They'll have a link to the original image and a link to the article. And whenever you display the article, the module controls if there's a crop that has a relation to this article and to this image, and then it'll exchange the image URI with the crop URI. So it generates a whole new image, and it's totally transparent for the system. If you disable this module, then you're just back to showing the normal images. And this module has been released as a contrib module. It's called crop entity. It's still in the project application phase, but still, if you want to use it, by all means. This is a breaking news workflow I talked about earlier. If something happens, as it does occasionally, you need to be able to publish fast. And I mean, the head of news departments, they are, if they say we got a breaking news, they're looking at the clock to see how many seconds before I have a message on my phone. So really, and seriously, they do. So they have at all times. Journalists have a button in the top of the screen that says breaking news, and they click it, and they enter the breaking news pass form with a parameter that says I'm created from the shortcut. And once it's saved, it also creates an article. Use the push message text as the body text in the article, and the title as the title. Saves the article that sends the push messages, and adds the article to the breaking news queue that we looked at before. And then we go back to the breaking news node form to enrich the article. But then you can produce an article that goes into the breaking news area and sends push messages very, very fast. Recently, I think, I haven't seen it yet, but I know has built a new contrib module, or it's contrib module to come. That's called concurrent, that allows them still to gain the extreme speed of a head of department looking at the seconds. They built a module called Concurrent that allows two or more than one backend user to edit the same node at the same time. Not like Google Docs, so you can both write in the body text, but more like, but whether you can one person can write the body text, and then the other user looking at this article will have the body text displayed as a locked field, but then one person can add images and find related articles, and one person can write body text, and also you can enrich the article two persons at the same time.
Does it block it by fields?
Yeah, it's by field. So if you write, if you have the article, the title field in focus, the title field to me is shown as locked, so I can't use it. Another feature is we have panelized view mode for mobile. The client wanted to have server-side device detection. So once you enter with some device, Varnish adds a device header, and Drupal looks at the device header and says, you want the standard view mode or you want the mobile view mode? And then you have various panel layouts. That's a feature that was introduced in Panelizer 3, I think. That was simply a decision to be able to control the mobile the experience of reading news on your mobile phone. Yeah. So yeah, and it's I've actually passed my my slot. So any questions? Yeah.
First of all, how was implemented the ACI integration with panels?
How was
panels and ACI integration implemented?
it's
what was used by the UCA to fetch the actual pane markup?
It's typically it's these other applications that you do you mean the markup that's actually rendered on the page?
Yeah, as usually ACI doesn't use the full Drupal bootstrap.
No.
Drupal doesn't store anywhere the full markup of pane. You were storing somewhere and warming the cache of
no, it's coming from separate applications. So it's
it's not a Drupal page.
no, it's not Drupal content. It's typically this from some of these applications that they include content, and then you have a parse that just puts a URL to locate it. Yeah.
If I understand right now, all the content is distributed to different. You told that most of the articles are still on this Microsoft CMS,
Yeah.
but some of them already in Drupal.
Yeah.
You're somewhere in the middle of the migration process.
Yeah.
But still you have somehow, so for example, if I'm an editor on Drupal site, usually when you have the media site, the editors are trying to reuse at least media assets, like huge images, videos, and so on and so on. Do you have a kind of the aggregator of all content? Because you told that you have these reference links inside the solver.
Yeah. For linking content, it's this reference system.
So it's used as content from the .NET.
From the net side, and they have a separate application to serve all the video, and all the videos can be searched in there as well, and radio broadcasts and so on. So all the content is linked inside that. But for media assets, the video is from an external system, but images are Drupal. They're local for the Drupal platform. So.
Do you have any kind of personalization except of prioritizing not queues? Because usually when clients have lots of content with tons of different articles, they are trying to put particular topics to particular persons. Because it's getting harder and harder to put the best content on front page, because front page is a small one when you have millions of articles, and you want, for example, the developers show some kind of IT article or sportsmen something else.
Well, you have the prioritization interface is site-based. So you select for the sites that for sports there's one interface and they can build it themselves with what they want to, which sources they want to get articles from. They can define lists. It's basically just views that you can say I want this view in my source pane, and then define what selection. But are you thinking in terms of the end user personalization?
Yeah, dynamic one, like using the user context, profile information.
No, we don't. No, there's no, not for the end user.
And did you have any troubles in migration? Because according to my experience, usually the huge sites are pain. But it's pain when you have a couple of times when you just invoke the whole migration and that's all. And you're right now somewhere in the middle of migration.
Yeah. Fortunately, we had a very skilled team. That's actually a whole team just for migration. I think four people has been working full time on migrating, and partly because it was difficult. There was a lot of data clutter in the old system, and because it had to happen fast. We have to have continuous migration of content because, as actually the news, as I said, it's pretty much ready, but it should have been airing on April the 8th. So, so it's been just postponed. So we just have to be ready to, when someone says, now we want to go on air, then the migration has to be up to date and all that. So yeah, to answer your question very briefly, yes, there has been a problem with migration. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you.